Hello, I'm Joan. I'm a Canadian family physician who also works as a restorative medical educator, facilitator, and coach. I create spaces that rehumanize the work of healthcare. I'm creating this podcast to remind myself, as well as anyone else working in a helping profession, that when you are working and caring for your human patients, you are the other human in the room. Hello there, healthcare humans. Thank you for coming to a very special episode of The Other Human in the Room, where my wonderful and dear friend Caroline suggested that I talk about the time I was one of very, very many humans in the Rogers Center of going to the Eras Tour. And Caroline has questions for me as a fellow Swiftie, and I'm wearing my Eras Tour shirt. And Caroline, what are you wearing and bringing with you today?
I'm wearing my sparkly blue blazer that my fellow Swiftie thrifted for me to wear to the concert that I went to in London. And I'm also
Yes.
drinking out of my Swiftie mug that I just got from my friend yesterday as a birthday gift.
I think I need that mug. I'm gonna
I think
literally look
so.
into that mug. That is the perfect mug for a tea drinking Swiftie. So it's
Yes,
amazing.
it's perfect.
Actually, I would love, just so that folks know, what's your relationship with Taylor Swift and the Eras Tour? So yourself.
So my daughter is 16 now, but when she was 14, she actually probably like 13, 14, like just fell deeply in love with Taylor Swift, and then brought me with her in her adoration of Taylor Swift. And we were very lucky to get tickets in the first time that she dropped her tickets for the US tour. We got tickets to Detroit, so we went there with there was five teenagers and five moms, and we all were able to get tickets and had just the most amazing time. And then we also got tickets. My daughter has this amazing ability to get Taylor Swift tickets, so we ended up getting tickets to London as well, and we went to
Wow.
London to see her. So yeah, we're hardcore.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, whenever she tours again, which who knows when that will be, but can I be in line for Meredith to get the code
Yes,
for me? Just, I
yes,
want her
yes.
skills. That's amazing.
Yeah, Meredith has a gift for getting Taylor Swift tickets.
Yes, that is a wonderful gift to have. Yeah, and so then, as of the time of recording, it's a Wednesday, and I went to the Eras Tour this past Saturday, so it is fresh in my mind. I have many thoughts and memories. I've actually already, for myself, I did a detailed series of voice memos recording like every single thing I could think to remember just for me. I'm never releasing that because it's way too much detail, but I just really needed to like process it. So I like did that for myself. But then otherwise, I'm super excited to just talk to you about this. And then it'll be recorded for posterity, which is super fun as well.
So I guess, my first question, I know you've talked about this a little bit, but like can you give us a little bit of background on your Taylor Swift, like how you became a Swiftie, you
Yes.
decided you needed to go to the concert?
Yeah, I feel like I can now, after going to the concert, now I'm like I am a Swiftie. But even before that, I was using like baby Swiftie or like new but passionate Swiftie because I definitely have not been following her since like the beginning. I did know that she existed. I like knew of Love Story and You Belong With Me. Like I was aware of her, but the first album that I purchased and listened to a lot was 1989. I really liked that album, and it was during residency, and you have to drive a lot in residency, and it's a really good driving album. There's lots of like allusions to driving and Harry Styles crashing snowmobiles, and so it just feels like good when you're driving. But then even then, I wasn't deep in. Really, it was last year, and like I'm pretty sure it was the YouTube algorithm. Like I was hearing about the Eras Tour a bit, and I was hearing that people liked her. And then I don't remember why I was on YouTube for some other reason, but I saw this like video that was like everything you need to know before the 1989 Taylor's version comes out. And I liked 1989. So I was like, oh. So I clicked this video and it was like the Swiftie from Australia. And she was explaining all the like lore behind the songs and that they were about Harry Styles and that, and like the links in the lyrics. And it was so fascinating, first of all, like how much she links things and like that there's this whole underworld to her songs. And also like the enthusiasm of this Swiftie was like so infectious. And so then I just kept clicking, you know, the algorithm does this. I was then delivered not only her, but other people who are in that world. And also like not only people like explaining her, but there's this whole subsection of the internet where it's people reacting. So like you're listening, you're watching them listen to an album for the first time. And there's a few like Swifties that I just love watching their reactions. They immediately like clock the lyrics in a way I wouldn't, and they connect them or they cry. Like it's just you're just having this communal experience asynchronously with this person, you know, who actually reacted years ago. And so it was sort of through that portal. And then some of them have podcasts. So like I got into like Swiftie culture through these like YouTuber podcaster people, and really loved the lore and the explanation of it. And I sort of through that then was like listening to the songs and being like, wow, these are really good songs. I picked up the ukulele so I could learn the songs. Like it just sort of started a journey of me just practicing enjoying things, because she's so full of joy. Like her music, even when it's sad, is such like a joyous expression. And at a certain point, it was a conversation with our now mutual friend Sarah Gower. I was like, oh yeah, like it would be so cool, but I can't spend that much money on an Eras ticket. They're all so insanely expensive by this point in 2024, right? They're all like resale. And she was like, honestly, Joan, just like save up your money and do it. Like if you want to, just do it. And I had this money saved up for something, and I went on StubHub, and there was a ticket that was literally the same amount of the entire savings of this little account I was in. And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to the Eras tour, and I purchased the ticket. And then since then it's been like, well, now I'm preparing for the Eras tour. So I gave myself even more permission to just like listen to her music, sing her songs, make friendship bracelets, get so pumped, talk to so many people about it. And like I said to you, like via voice memo, how we talk, like before even going to the show, I feel like I've already gotten my money's worth because of how much fun I've had anticipating and preparing for the concert, you know? So that's been kind of my journey of this past year that's the energy I was bringing to the Eras Tour concert on Saturday.
So I want to hear about your day of the concert. What did you do?
Oh, so great question. So in the morning, I woke up at 4:30 and could not fall back asleep.
Yeah.
So that was true. And I had like a regular morning. Like I took my kids to their like Saturday morning activity. I chatted with a friend while like because her kids are in the same class, and that was nice. It was funny though, like we went to a Tim Hortons to chat, and then a girl came in wearing like the folklore cardigan, and I know all the merch now. Like I'm that deep in this world, and so I had to walk by her for some other reason. I was like, oh, I love your cardigan. And she's like, thanks. And I was like, I'm going to see her tonight. She's like, oh, I'm so jealous. And I was like, okay, I'm already starting to pierce my usual social norms, which is that I don't usually talk to strangers. And that was kind of a theme of the day, because I would still feel like shy about going up to a stranger and talking to them. And I just pushed myself past that little pause a lot that day. Anyway, then around noon, I drove to Toronto from where I live in Cambridge, and I met up with my sister and her wife, my sister-in-law, and we had a lovely time, including like we met at this cheese shop, and we just like had a lovely time. So like kind of distracting me from it, not thinking too much about it. And then when we went back to their house, they're the ones that suggested like, oh, we have Disney Plus. Like, do you want to put on the Eras tour? And because they know about Taylor Swift, but they are not like in the lore. They've never seen the movie. And I was like, are you sure? Yes. And so then it was so fun. I was like explaining things to them maybe more than their actual interest was, but they were very kind to listen to me point out trivia and lore and all that stuff. And then, yeah, got ready, got on the train. So, like, they live sort of more north in Toronto, but they're somewhat close to the Union Pearson Express, which is a very nice train I've never been on before. It's like, it feels more like a GO train, like a proper train versus a not as pretty subway. So I got on that, and that takes you right down to Union. And the Swifties, you could see all the sparkles. People on the train were ready to go, and yeah, that was fun.
And so was the train like full of Swifties?
It was not full of Swifties, but there were a number of Swifties, and then like people who were like probably not going to the concert. But you could tell everyone was sparkles. Like
Yeah.
everyone, like sparkle was the thing, which I did not wear sparkles, but it like that was sort of one of the key traits of like most of the
Yeah.
outfits. And so that was another like the first time I kind of was like, oh, there's these two women standing right here where I'm sitting. They're clearly going to the concert. So then I asked them like, hey, you guys go to the concert? Yes. Like, do you want to trade friendship bracelets? They didn't have any, so I just like gave some to them. And then they went back to their conversation and they didn't want to talk to me all about Taylor, which was fine. But a lot of people, I think, actually weren't on like, I think part of me was like, I'm going to like a Taylor Swift convention and
Right.
everyone's going to be at the same level of excitement about talking about Taylor. And one
Right.
thing that was true is that was not factual,
Right.
which was good to readjust. And I'm still glad that I didn't say, oh, well, that means I shouldn't talk to him. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I made these bracelets. I'm going to give them away and you're welcome. And I was having fun doing it. So it was interesting, like the social narrative in my head. I didn't have a strong expectation, but I realized I had hoped to have like lots of gushing conversations about Taylor. I did get to have some, which was great. But like most people, no, I think they were just there to watch a concert.
Yeah, it's interesting. So my, especially in London, my daughter and her friend had made like, I don't even know, like over 100 bracelets, I think. And
Wow.
they stood in the bathroom line and just like they walked down the bathroom line like just chatting and trading bracelets, and it was so amazing. And it wasn't like every person in the bathroom line that wanted to trade
Yes.
bracelets, but probably every other person in the bathroom line was like so excited to trade bracelets with them. It was really
Oh,
cute.
so
Yeah.
nice. I
But
love
I
that.
agree, like it's kind of brave and totally out of my comfort zone to just walk up to somebody and talk, and I didn't really do it, but I enjoyed watching my daughter do it.
Yeah. And I am not of the classic generation that was doing it the most, I think, was part of it. And
Yeah.
also, so like when I got there, like, and so then doing a bit with like people who are also in the 500s like me, well, I don't know, the people next to me, I want to talk about them. They're amazing. But like some of them were diehards like me. And thankfully, the people on either side of me were as into as me. But a lot of other people in my section were sitting for a lot of the concert, for example,
Right.
or didn't appear to know every word like I did.
Right.
So there's a mix of levels of fanaticism. And that's
Right.
okay. So you just find your little pockets.
So you got there, got in. Who were the people that were beside you?
Oh yeah. So I met the people on my left first, and they were this really lovely. I knew that probably we were gonna have like a more keen Taylor interaction because it was two men wearing matching Junior Jewels outfits, like the Junior Jewels pajama set from You Belong With Me. They were so cute. They were a gay couple, and so I asked them if they wanted to trade bracelets, and they said yes, and they were excited. And they had driven up from Connecticut. Their names were Steve and Oswaldo, which are like the best names ever.
Love it.
I was like, Oswaldo, does anyone ever call you like Oz? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so have you been like really enjoying all the Wicked promotion? And he's like, we just saw it this morning at Dundas Square. And so then we got to talk about Wicked. So that was like a great interaction. We got to talk about Taylor and musical theater, and they were really sweet. And especially, I think, Oswaldo, he's like, oh, I'm a new fan too. I just got into it with the Eras Tour movie last year. And I'm like, me too. But I think like sometimes we're like the keenest fans because we're like the newly converted. And I was like, yes. And so he and I, and also my seatmate on the right, like truly every word. They never sat. I sat more than they sat. They wouldn't even sit on the breaks. And he was
Yeah.
like into it. So that was so wonderful because it was like this pocket of like
So
we
great.
love Taylor. So that was them. And then on the right, her name was Fiza, and she was from like the GTA area and was maybe like 10 years younger than me or something, but she was there by herself too. So then she had motivation to talk to me because she didn't have anyone else to talk to. So we chatted quite a bit about like, oh, what surprise song do you want? And oh, look, like, can you see the celebrity tent? Like, just random things. And that was really nice. She also knew Gracie Abrams, who was like the opening
Yeah.
act. And I almost know Gracie Abrams. Like I just know like the songs that have recently gone viral on TikTok or whatever. So she was like, okay, oh, this song's good. Like she would kind of like point those out. And so that was so fun. And again, she just also stood the whole time, was really keen. And I feel really grateful and lucky because, like I said, like people in front of me and I think behind us, sorry, people behind us, but like they would sit for a lot of it. And I think if I say I had happened to be in the middle of that row and I was the only one standing, I would have gone as hard as I could, but I would have been more self-conscious just because you kind of would
Yes.
be. So I feel like
Yeah.
the universe delivered me some great seatmates that made it a really good experience. Because I was, by the way, like I was 2 rows from the top. Like I was there. It went up to row 20. I was row 18. I was looking way down at Teeny Taylor, and that is so great actually because you actually get to see everything. But I think some of the people there maybe picked up cheaper tickets than the amount I paid for my teeny tiny ticket. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So when I was in Detroit, we actually had floor seats,
Hmm.
and this was just this random like email we got in January, and they were like, "We're sorry for the experience of the tickets in October. We'd like to offer you 2 seats." And Meredith and I were like, and we both got them, so we got 4 more seats, and they were floor seats. But it was a mix of people who were really into it, but there was also some people even on the floor who were
Okay. So
who
no
were
matter
like,
where you are.
maybe they got them from work, or maybe they. So I think it's wherever you are, it's really lucky when you're surrounded by people who are equally into it, so you don't feel embarrassed. Exactly, like you don't want to feel
Yeah.
like you don't want to feel yeah, and hopefully it wouldn't stop, but it would get in the way a little bit of the
Yeah.
enjoyment.
I think it would have if I was truly could not see a person singing along or standing or
Yeah,
dancing. It's going to
yeah,
just be a different experience.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy you had those good seatmates. So how did you feel in that like countdown, the final countdown when the clock is up?
It was like it's so funny because I pictured that moment because you see clips of it or whatever and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be there, and then it's happening and it just goes so fast. But so you're just like, it's happening, it's counting down, the pedals are coming out, and it's just like it's time is moving at the normal speed, which because you're so like I was so oriented to this moment finally happening, it made it feel fast because it's like, oh, time's just ticking along. But it was so exciting and like the like we in I know you've watched the like reel that I posted, but you can hear the crowd just start to scream, like even just as the town, even before that, because like people are aware, and including myself, like there's certain songs that play. So there's one that it's a rap song. I don't know if it's Ice Spice or someone else, but there's one song where it's like I'm coming in. I actually don't know, but it's something about coming in. So like that, there's like a rap song, and then there's Lady Gaga's Applause,
Yeah,
and everyone knows, especially applause is before the clock is coming, and like
yeah,
like Oswaldo's like applause means it's coming. I'm like, I know. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, and by the way, because we were like on the side, slightly like back from the diamond, we could see behind the stage a little bit. So we totally saw her come in on the cleaning cart. Because you know how she comes in on the cleaning cart. So we
yes,
saw them roll
yes.
in the cleaning cart during one of those songs. And we're like, oh yeah, she's coming in. And at the end of the night, I saw her walk out. I just wanted, in case I forget to say that later, I saw her hug 2 people. I don't know who they were because it was very small. It wasn't Travis. But I saw her like be a human for, you know, 30 seconds, and that was quite thrilling. Anyway, so yes, and then with the timer counting down, and you're suddenly a part of it. Like I have, like looking back, it's sort of, I had this experience of like up until that moment in my life, I was a person who had not seen Taylor Swift with my own eyeballs, and then suddenly I just was a person who was seeing her with my eyeballs, and your reality shifts because it's like suddenly you're a person who's actually seeing this thing that you've like watched so many times, and now it's actually happening in front of you. It was like surreal and thrilling, and I loved it.
Oh, I watched your video,
Yeah.
like I was coming on, and just I could just feel that like energy and joy, and it's like collective energy all around you, and your energy,
Yes.
and oh, so
Definitely cried,
amazing.
which like I showed the clips of me like crying for sure because you're just like, I'm there. Oh my gosh, like it's so overwhelming and so exciting.
So is that something you would have expected like 5 years ago, Joan? Would you have expected to be crying at a Taylor Swift concert?
No, I've been like, what? Like I remember a year ago, maybe a little more than a year ago now, but like hearing, oh, Taylor Swift tickets are going for 300 and 400, and being like, who would ever spend that much on a ticket? And
Hmm.
I spent over $2,000 on my ticket. I forget if I said that on the podcast, but like I spent $2,600, just to say specifically. That's how much money I spent on my ticket. And that felt very worth it. So it's like,
Yeah,
5 years ago, I'd been like, are you okay? Or I don't know, I would have been curious and confused about how I came
yeah,
to be in such a place. I hope part of me would have been happy for myself though, because like there's something that not just becoming a Swiftie, but like the whole project of this year of practicing joy, practicing pleasure, like permission to connect with like youthful parts of myself, because the version of me that knows best how to just be delighted is my childhood self, because it's been since then that it's been weathered away from me. you
yeah,
know so I would imagine one of the judgments I would have had is like, that's sort of embarrassing or immature because she's like, it's like a teenage thing to get that excited at a concert. And I
yes,
understand where that judgment would come from.
yes,
And in some ways, it's accurate. Like, there's two, I probably teen or like young, quite young girls, and they got so excited for Gracie, and then they stood the whole time, and I traded bracelets with them, and they were like kind of classically, youthfully, squealing. And like, yeah, I'm connecting to that younger version of myself, especially because like at the time, age that I assumed they were, I was really trying not to. I thought that was not cool, or I thought, I was into
right,
like indie stuff or whatever. And so I get to like redo it and just actually
yes,
have a joyful, youthful experience. And I'm happy to be on this side of it, and having honestly no self consciousness about crying and laughing and screaming all the words and dancing. Like it was just purely enjoying it instead of feeling self conscious about it, which was great.
I love that. I just like I think that's like magic to
Yes.
have an opportunity to be part of something like that where you can feel all those feelings with a whole giant crowd of other people who are
Oh
feeling
my
those
gosh.
feelings.
Yes. That was one thing. Like I kept like looking at all the like lights. I mean, like those
Yes.
are those are other bodies like me, and like my
Yes.
brain would break. Like I couldn't. I tried a few times. I'm like, no, because it's just
Yeah.
so many people, and
Yes.
she just stands there and absorbs the energy of so many people, and just like, hi, I'm just actually another person. Like it's
Yes.
so wild. She's the same size as the rest of us, and
Yes.
yet like the magic of what she has created and the whole vision, like the way the whole concert's designed, it's beautiful. I was so happy to be high up, see all the design of like the lights on the stage, like the artistic design of the concert. I really can't think of it as a concert. Like the experience of it reminded me way more of like the times I've seen like Broadway shows.
Yeah.
And it is a
Yeah.
Broadway show because Taylor Swift
Yes.
has made her life a musical. And this is like the peak of her turning her life into a musical, is like the theatrics of the show. And just like all, and the dancers, and then her and her performance. And then you remember she wrote all these songs, and it's like talent upon talent upon talent, and it totally fills that stadium, despite the fact that technically she's like one little person with all of
Yeah.
these people looking at her. Like, it's wild.
Yes. Yeah, it really is. It's a pretty surreal experience. So, okay, so getting back to your concert time. So
Yes.
she comes out. Did you this is probably too hard to answer, but like did you have a favorite song?
Oh my god. How dare you answer?
Or like five favorite
Um,
songs? Is that even too much?
um, no, I don't know how to answer that. Like, in terms of like songs, like the experience of watching it, um, gosh. One thing I noticed is that I noticed and really enjoyed all the details of the midnight set. And I think like and I have stronger memories of actually watching that part live. And I think it's because for most of the rest of it, I was watching the show, but I was mostly just like I guess I was having my own show and singing alongside because I knew it so well. So I didn't have to
Yeah.
look for novelty. Like the things I remember
Yeah.
most are actually because I have seen this show so many times. So, oh, like by the way, like obviously I've seen the movie, but I've also watched the live stream of this multiple times. Like, and I usually watch pieces of the live stream leading up to the surprise songs, and then I don't watch Midnights. So that actually had the most like surprises and like, oh wow, look how good their dancing is, and I didn't know what their dancing was going to be because I it wasn't familiar to me. So that was kind of cool to like, especially since that's near the end and you're tired. That I actually more sat back and like watched as a show.
Yeah.
But the rest of it I participated in, which means I wasn't necessarily like these are the cool details. I was like,
Yeah.
we're doing this together, Taylor. We're doing this song. We're doing that
Yes.
song. I mean, Cruel Summer singing that bridge is like, because that's your, it's so the iconic first moment with
Yeah.
the bridge. The
Yeah, you're
man,
there.
I'm there. I'm saying I'm drunk in the back of the car, and she's singing it.
Yeah.
We're all singing it. The man because my boys really love the man, and
Yeah.
in the man she says Leo, which is like the English version of Leo. So I was excited for those moments and very happy to experience them. All of Fearless was so fun. People were super into Fearless, and
Yeah.
like just the energy of that's her oldest album that she shares on the tour. Um, the 22 hat moment's so cute. That was really cute to watch. I liked Trouble more live than I you don't usually like I Knew You Were Troubled as much. As like not my favorite single, but live with all the steam coming up. All the times there was
Yeah.
like pyrotechnics, I was like very dazzled by them. So like the
Yeah.
steam, Bad
Yeah.
Blood, which again is not
Yes.
like I've heard it too many times and it's not that melodic, so it's not my favorite song. But
Yeah.
live, it was like this incredible, like iconic moment with the fire, and you're just like, whoa, like it just feels so palpably real, like you're having that moment. All of
Yeah.
Reputation, actually, I would say so. My favorite like era that I experienced was Reputation, in part
Yes.
because Reputation is amazing. Like, oh, what's the song actually called? What is it called? Don't blame me. Don't blame me. I'm like, what's
Yeah.
the church song called? Don't blame me. When all the lights go up and it's just like this choral arrangement, like that is this gorgeous moment. But part of why I loved it so much is in the first few eras, I was starting to notice that my body was telling me I had to pee, which actually didn't make much sense because I'd emptied my bladder and I was not drinking water, but my body kept
Yeah.
nudging me like,
You
okay,
have to
but
go.
you have to
Yeah.
pee. Like, I think what happened is it maybe said that a little bit, and then my mind's like, I'm gonna have to pee more later, and I don't want to miss, like, all my favorite parts happen later. So I was like, it's fine, no, it's not. And then I was like, Joan, listen to your body. That's literally what you always do. So right at the end of Enchanted, like when she
Yeah.
left, I wasn't going to disrupt anyone's concert experience, so I wait till she left, and I was like, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, and I like got out, ran down to the bathroom. No one was in there because everyone's
Amazing.
too pumped for Reputation. So it was
Yeah.
like zero line, unlike the rest of the time when there was a crazy line.
Yeah.
And I got back right as she had just started walking out. So I really hadn't, I'd missed sort of the lead up, but I hadn't missed any of her performance.
Yeah.
But I didn't then want to crawl back over people because that's like, I'm not going to disrupt their religious experience. And this really cool thing was like, so I'm in these rows, right? Like the seats, they're very, very steep. But it just
Yeah.
so happened the row I was in started further back from the stairs than the rest of the rows in front. There was a
Yeah.
column. So there was like a stretch of space that with the column behind me, so I'm standing in front of no one,
Yeah.
um, where I just stood there and I danced. So I was like basically doing the choreography. Like I was moving, I was doing all my like fitness Marshall, Taylor
Oh, I
Swift
love
cardio
it.
dance moves. And so like I danced through Reputation with her. And
I love it.
it was so delicious. It was by far the my body's favorite part of the show because I was more free to move because you're pretty
Yeah.
squished in and you
Yeah.
have to kind of dance more vertically. And so that whole set was my favorite, like in terms of how like my full body's experience of it. And what a perfect one to do it to because like you want to dance, you want to like move your body.
Yeah.
Um, so those were some of my favorites. I don't even like obviously all the folklore was amazing, all like everything was amazing. But and then the acoustic set was amazing. So I know that's
Okay, so
everything.
you have to tell us about the acoustic set. Tell us,
Oh my
tell us about
gosh.
that.
Yes, that was okay because like that I had the most like type A perfectionist anxiety about. Like one of my fears is that I would not recognize the songs. And so, you know, I had a playlist, I was listening, I was studying, and I was like, but what if I don't know the words to the song? Anyway, this is what type A perfectionist piece of me, who I honor and love, she was nervous. Um, and also, there's all the lore like, would she announce Reputation? Like, there's sort of all these expectations I noticed like coming up as she, you know, came out for the acoustic section. And I didn't want that to be my experience. So the thing that I kept repeating to myself was like, say yes to what is. And so I would just like sink down and being like, so what is actually happening now in this moment? What is happening now in this moment? And just saying yes. I didn't even like, I didn't want to look at her face. For the vast majority of the show, I did not look at her face on the screen because I watch her on the screen all the time. So even though it meant I actually like technically saw less of her, I was watching like her little body because I'm like, but that's actually her. That's the only time I'm going to see her. So surprise songs, I was looking at her back the whole time. And I was like so tuned into like, that's her playing it. So so she started the first one and it was Sparks Fly. And that's a song that is not like I know that song. So I recognize all the songs just to say. So I passed my test that I worried
Yeah.
about. And Sparks Fly in particular, what I discovered is that I don't know the bridge at all. And it was fine. I just like pretended to know the bridge. Like I just like went,
Yeah.
like I knew enough of it, and actually it was fine. So, but so sweet. Like this part of me was like, oh no, I won't know the words, and I'll feel awkward. And then I just laughed at myself for that part. But it was so exciting. Like so, Sparks Fly was like, oh my gosh, I know this, and it's a good one, and yay! But then she started playing Message in a Bottle, and that song is like specifically so meaningful to me. I might get a little teary just because like my boys really love it because they got really obsessed with the DC like kids movie Super Pets, which is about all the DC superheroes and their pets. Like the stars of the movie is like Superman's dog, and it's actually a pretty solid kids movie, and it has bad blood in it, at like a cute comedic moment, and then the credits song is Message in a Bottle, and which is like a vault track from Red. But so it wouldn't necessarily, you'd think it's just a random vault track from Red, but like I was immediately like with my boys. I took a
Oh,
video of that because I was like, oh my
yeah.
gosh, it's Super Pets. Like they would call that song Super Pets, you know? And I know all the words to that one. So that was really special. Actually, that's one thing I'll say, not only with the surprise songs, but with several moments throughout the show. One of the things that kept happening is I kept flashing back to like the other times I had connected with those songs, like All Too
Yeah.
Well. I
Oh,
kept
yeah.
I kept being like in some ways I was less in the moment because I wasn't simply there, but I was like in my kitchen in the middle of
Yeah.
winter all the times because it's All Too Well, like the sad autumn version is like on our like standard playlist that we play every night for dinner. And it was like I was both places at once. And I was
Yes.
noticing it so much. The thing I kept doing, that I just started consciously imagining myself high-fiving my past self.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
And then I would have the thought of like, also high fives to future self, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Cause like just realizing, oh my God, like that's what's so amazing about music It's sort of like, smells can bring you back to different places. Music,
Yes.
same thing. And literally Taylor talks about this. She like says that in her opening
Yes.
speech when she's Lover. It's like, you'll, instead of whatever memories you had before, you'll have memories of this tonight. And I was like, oh my God, she's right. This is happening to me right now. And so Message in the Bottle was like so that. And there were several other like moments throughout the show where I would remember when I learned the song, when I would be flashing back to me playing it on the ukulele or whatever. And like, it's very self-connecting. Like it was so cool to have
Yeah.
that like time travel experience, you know?
I love that.
It was so good. And so that was the guitar song. And so that was already like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. And then she sits down on the piano and starts playing You're Losing Me. So obviously I'm immediately like I was like I like sob cried the first words
Yeah.
because I was like, that song is so special. Like it was the song where she kind of like right after she broke up with Joe, and it sort of revealed part of maybe why she broke up with Joe. And it's such a like deeply emotional song, but also like so good. Getting to like, sing, scream, I wouldn't marry me either, a pathological people pleaser who only wanted you to see her with Taylor, because that is just iconic lyrics. And then she blended it with How Did It End? If anyone listening is not a Taylor Swift fan, this is like very deep. But like, anyway, How Did It End? Which is about how including me right now, technically, commenting, how did it end? What happened? Like the outside pressure, the empathetic hunger descending on her
Hunger.
of,
Yes.
and she's just in You're Losing Me, she's just in it being like, oh no, this one that I thought would last, it's dying. And then everyone from the outside is like, ooh, it's dying, and wants to like pick over her bones. How dare she mash up those two songs? It was like too meaningful and so beautiful. And those songs, like I've learned, I can't skillfully play, but I have the sheet music for How Did It End? So again, I was remembering that, like just really remembering moments where I connected with those songs. So to say I feel happy with my surprise song seems like an understatement. Like it's interesting that none of those were ones that I said I hope I get these songs,
Yeah.
and they were perfect. They were amazing. It was like a wonderful blend, and it's so special. Like that's the only time she's ever gonna do that. That's the only time she's doing. I saw the singular time she's performing those songs in those ways. That is
In
like,
those ways. Yes.
that's so
And
wild.
her ability to wrap language around these like universal human experiences, but like very
Oh.
detailed, but then it makes it also so universal.
The
The
specific is the universal. Like she's one of the
Yeah.
best people to explain that, and like in poetry or
Yes.
whatever. Like
Yeah.
that is so true for me. Like sometimes some people are skilled at explaining, like Brene, who we both love, Brene Brown, she is skillful at explaining a broad concept in a way that you connect to. Like, because that's more what she does, though she could tell stories, right? But there's a different way that you connect with an idea, a feeling, when it is just the piercing, specific
Yes.
lyric, and you're like,
Yes.
I'm with you. I feel as if I'm in this with you. Like she's so good at that. Oh my
So
God.
good. So, okay, so you cried during those songs, obviously.
Yeah.
Were there other times where you were like surprised by emotion? Can you think of any other?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, one for sure, which was when Taylor cried, which
Oh,
like so
yes.
she was surprised that she was crying. So like after Champagne Problems, there's always like a long cheering, like standing ovation. It's funny to call it a standing ovation. Everyone's already standing, obviously. Well, I guess some people were, but like it's like a long cheering section, and she stands there and she's like, "Oh gosh," and she like takes out her earbuds, and like she does that every night. She sort of lets that be the time where we like cheer super hard for her for a long time, and she's like, "Thank you so much," but like so I was aware that that was all sort of typical, and we were going hard, like it was like a long one. But then she like starts talking, and she usually just says like, thank you so much, that means so much, and then she starts singing August, right? But this time she was like, you know, I don't remember you can find the clip online of exactly what she says, but something like, this tour's almost coming to the end. And I think that's probably then she was like, uh-oh. And like, you don't know how much this means to me and my team and the band. And then she's like, I'm sorry. And like, she like had to stop herself. And then she tried to keep going and she's like, I don't even know what I'm saying. I just need a minute. Like she like became genuinely overwhelmed with emotion. And there's some that I immediately crying, and in a way where I'm like, oh Taylor, like the human Taylor, like, oh, you're like going through this moment. And everyone, and then we were all like cheering and like not cheering that she was crying, that seems so strange, but like,
No, I get it. I get it.
it was clearly like a supportive cheer, which
Yeah.
we're like, hey, we're with you. And that was
Yeah.
like so special because I mean the whole time she's up there and the whole time she's singing from her heart, but she's rehearsed this, thankfully she's not ripping her heart out and bleeding on the stage for 3.5 hours, like these are rehearsed and it's a version of herself. But we all just love the cracks of humanity, like we just love
Yeah.
that. and
Yeah.
and so it was so special to see it, and thinking about the sense I got about why she cried is like that she's going to miss it. But I think it's also like it's clear that she cares about the people that she's works with so much. Like she's like a really, like they should study her leadership style. I would love to know what her actual leadership style looks like, how she communicates with her crew and stuff. But like she cares about the fact that they've all worked so hard. And I feel like probably it's like when you're coming up on graduation and then you're looking at your graduating class and you're overwhelmed with the nostalgia that doesn't even like I felt like that's what happened, and it just reveals so much of
Yeah.
her heart. And so that was a surprising emotional moment that
Yes.
nobody knew was coming. She didn't even know it was coming.
Yes.
So that was super special. I would say that's the main one. There wasn't like there would just be times where I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm really here. But I think like
Yeah.
in terms of when I cried, like I would say right at the beginning.
Yeah.
I thought maybe I'd weep the whole time, but it was like right at the beginning when she first came out, that moment, and then the surprise songs, and then maybe not actually that any other times was I like crying. I was instead like just feeling total joy and delight and awe in my body. But
Yeah.
I was like not crying because of it, in part because I've practiced it enough that I was like, oh, this feels so good, and I was just like enjoying it.
Oh,
So then I
I
wasn't
love
crying.
that.
Yeah, so
I love
that was
that.
nice. That was a nice mix.
Yes. Yeah, a nice mix of all of that. Have you been to many concerts before, or is this kind of a unusual?
Right. That's like my sister-in-law after was like, "Oh, so would you say that's your favorite concert experience?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like how many concerts have I been to?" One thing is that like I don't think I know it was a concert, but it just doesn't get to count as a concert. Like I
Right.
genuinely feel like I put it my favorite live performance experiences I've had. This is one of them. It's hard to say if it's the top. I think they're all just sort of tied for the top. So I would say this. Another one that is tied for the top is the Fitness Marshall concert I went to with actually my sister and sister-in-law in Toronto, because lots of the obviously much smaller scale. Fitness Marshall's this cardio dance YouTube guy. I've talked about it before, but in case people are listening to just this one, and his videos like carried me through the pandemic. They were my main form of exercise because they're so joyful. You feel so good doing them, and doing them collectively with them live in a room with a bunch of other people who they do a lot of the familiar songs, so the moves. So again, that's what felt very similar to Eras, where it's
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
am a participant. I am a performer, if you will, not like, yay, look
Yeah.
at me, but like I am participating in this, not just watching it.
Yeah.
And that's why it feels different, and they go in a different category. And then the other one that feels like that is when I went and saw In the Heights on Broadway, which is Lin Manuel Miranda's first
Okay.
musical. The same guy who wrote Hamilton and was in
Yeah.
Hamilton. That was his first one. And that was like, so in undergrad, I knew that entire soundtrack cold. I'd wept to the soundtrack walking home. It was in med school, actually. Actually, I was in med school, not undergrad. And so I didn't participate because that is rude to sing along with a Broadway musical. But I was mouthing the words. I had to like stop
Yeah.
myself. And again, I knew all the beats of what was going to happen. So I would
Yeah.
say like that's the trio. And those are
Yeah.
like uniquely top and magical. And I would say Fitness Marshall and Eras outstrip in the Heights because I got to actually sing and be a part of it.
Yes.
That,
Yeah.
and then concerts I've been to, I have not, like, when I was in undergrad, I went to a number of concerts, and there were people that I liked. Like I saw the more like indie stuff, like Sufjan Stevens, New Pornographers, Arcade Fire, etc. And part of it is like my age. I was more self conscious. I'd always be self conscious about what I was or wasn't doing. I also was rarely in crowds where people wanted to dance and sing along. I think the thing is, they should make two kinds of concerts. They should make the kind of concert where people want a passive experience, because that's valid. Where you
Yeah.
go and you watch it like it's like a theater show, and you're just your job is to be watching. And
Yeah.
then they should have different shows that are marked where it's the point is you go and you participate in the show. And then I
Yeah.
would only sign up for those because that's the
Yeah.
kind of concert experience I want. And I would be often disappointed, like, guys, this is a dancing song. And you're all like cool guys with your hands in your pocket, bopping your head. And I would get so distracted
Yeah.
by my annoyance of that. that
Yeah.
that's my idea of a concert experience, unfortunately. So these far surpass that, including Eras. Very much
Yeah.
far surpasses.
I think that's so true because in those in like a Taylor Swift concert environment, like your separation from other people is gone. Like there's that feeling of like you
Yeah.
said, the lights all around, everybody moving, everybody singing. It's like you stop
Yes.
feeling like you're just an individual. It's like you're part of this collective,
Yes.
which
And
is magic.
you're meant to participate. Like it was so fun. All the moments, like so when you belong with me, you do the clap clap. In I Need to Calm Down, you do the arm movement. She actually initiates that one, but there's like the fan initiating one. So like the clap clap, in Delicate, the 1 2 3 let's go bitch, in Blood, when you see the Kendrick lyrics, like it was so fun to do all those moments. The only one that Toronto definitely did not do was like in Blank Space. I wonder, did that happen in London where they did the
I
Sydney
don't remember.
thing? So because like it
I don't
originated
think so.
from, they didn't do it, okay, because it's supposed to be
Actually, I don't
like,
know. I don't know.
okay,
I'll have to
you
ask
don't remember.
Meredith.
Yeah, ask her. So like there's this moment that originated from like the 1989 World Tour where she did this thing where she like looped her vocals. So like in the part of the song that's like boys only want love if it's torture. Like she looped herself singing that, and then she would yell Sydney because she was like in Sydney, Australia for the recording. And so the way it would turn out is like boys only want love if it's torture. Sydney, don't say I did. Like it would be this little accent where she'd be saying it. So on this tour in Sydney is where it started. Everyone in the crowd's going Sydney because like they remember from 1989.
Yeah.
And so since then, there's been at least some part of the crowd who will always yell whatever city they're in. And
Okay.
what I'd seen from TikTok is that in Toronto, people were not yelling Toronto; they were yelling Blue Jays. So I was already like, "Why are we yelling Blue Jays?" I guess we're in the Sky Dome. But anyway, and so I was like, "Okay, I'm going to yell that." So I yelled Blue Jays. One time, nobody around me yelled anything. I was like, "Okay, never mind. We're not doing that one." But that was the only tradition that I saw that like the crowd didn't get the
Yeah.
memo that we were supposed to do. Probably because it's Blue Jays. Like, what the heck? Anyway. That's very random, but like that's like I mean this one literally has audience participation and lore built in, and that's just so fun. Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't even talk at all about the Tortured Poet set though, by the way.
Oh yeah. Talk about it. Bring it on.
Like I mean just that whole set is my favorite set because it's the set that I like, that's the album that I experienced as it rolled out live. Like I was a fan and got to like react and experience to it.
Yeah.
So I didn't film any part of it, and that one I was just like fully experiencing, and I loved every second of it. Maybe that's it. There's not much to say because I was just like, it's so good. The
That is,
animations are so good. Oh my gosh.
it's a musical for sure. Like that's a
Yes.
Broadway musical right there.
Like the Roomba thing she's on. You're like, are you kidding me? What the heck?
Yeah,
It was so cool.
it was so cool. It was so cool. I read this article in the Globe and Mail a few weeks ago, and it was like this cynical. I'm picturing a middle-aged man. I don't actually know how old he was. Like
Yeah.
kind of like,
Ugh.
poo-pooing the whole like Taylor Swift. Who like she's kind of like she's bland and why are everybody and I was like, why do you, like, what, does that make you feel cool to,
Yeah, are
I
you
think
okay?
that, yeah, like, do you feel cool because you're making fun of middle-aged women who like to go to? And I was like, you're missing out on so much joy. Like, why would
Yeah.
you make fun of joy? I don't know.
Why would you make fun of joy? Well, that's what I really love about Taylor in particular is like there's sort of the narrative and like I don't know if you read the article when she was like Time Person of the Year last year, but they talked a bit
I
about
listened to a podcast, but I don't know if I read the article.
yeah, I recommend it. It was very good. And so
Okay.
it in it like actually is the reporter talked about this quote that's like from online where it's like don't kill the part of yourself that you're cringing at, kill the part of yourself that's cringing. And I'm like actually
Yeah.
don't kill any of your parts, embrace all your parts. Even embrace the cringe part. It's serving a purpose, but don't let the fact that it's
Yeah.
cringe stop you from doing it. And the
Yeah.
reporter like quoted that to Taylor and she's like yes, cuz like Taylor is, according to people who say they're tastemakers or say they're cool, like Taylor's often cringe. She's also like the most successful person ever, so it's like, what are we even talking about? But you know, like the coolness factor, as cool as other fresh new artists. I mean, how could she possibly? Like she sings about this in multiple songs, like Nothing New or Clara Bow now. Like, you know, she's not going to be the fresh new thing. She's, you know, 34 years old. Like, um, and she just embraces that and embraces like being emotional and saying things that are she could feel embarrassed about saying even on this latest record she is like she had no need to share so many details of how much she like lusted after Maddie Healy before they got together and how devastated she was when they broke up like two
Yes.
seconds later. She didn't have to share any of that. It's very, you could say, embarrassing to share that. And she clearly she says like I needed to create this album, like she needs to share it, like it's how she processes things, and I think it's extremely healthy. Like it's such a beautiful modeling of like just put it out in the world in a way that's generative. Not she's not like, you know, going after Maddie Healy, she's just expressing her emotions, and it it feels so much better in your body. You feel so much more connected with yourself doing similar things versus having, you know, your main expression being just like crapping on other people and judging joy or saying it's too much or saying it's embarrassing. When I can remember times in the past where I sort of felt that way or laughed at people or whatever, and some of my friend groups growing up, that was a common currency in like how we
Yeah.
connected. And
Yeah.
all it does is it makes you feel, it means you are insecure for sure, and it means you cannot actually connect well with the people even that you're laughing at other people because you know at any minute they could just
Yeah.
start laughing at you. Like
Yeah.
it's such a fragile sense of belonging, it's a false
Yeah.
sense of belonging, it's not authentic. And so yes, I would much be rather be the middle-aged mom going by myself up in the nosebleeds weeping at Taylor Swift. I don't know what you're doing with your Saturday night, but like,
Yeah.
for
I
me, where else
know.
would I be? You know?
I so like I guess one of my other questions was how are you feeling afterwards? And again for me like one of just the feeling is like I hope I will have that feeling again. You know, I hope that there'll
Yes.
be other opportunities for this like for an experience like that again. But how are you how is the aftermath of your experience?
Yes. Well, it's funny. I heard from people, it's like, oh my gosh, the post era's like depression is real. And I haven't really experienced it yet. I was definitely tired because, like, by the time I got back to my sister and sister in law's house, and then we actually stayed up talking for a bit, like, I went to bed at 2:30. If you recall, I'd woken up at 4:30. So I was up for
Right.
22 hours and definitely felt that by the end. I'm like, I'm sleepy. My body is fatigued. And so even like last night and the night before, I was like, whoa, I'm like really low energy. I need to go to bed early, like that kind of thing. And so I've been listening to my body's aftermath that way. But emotionally, I'm not feeling sad or missing it. I think in part it's because I really make a point of regularly practicing joy and pleasure and fun in the ways that I can here. Obviously, I'm not replicating the whole Eras tour with 49,000 people in my house. A lot of it's like on my own or like maybe with my kids or through social media. I think it really helped. I wasn't planning to post the clips that I was taking online. That's not why like the things I was filming so I could remember it. But the next morning I was watching them being like, I think I want to share some of this. And the process of making it was super fun. And then that has definitely sustained it. Like people who have like either texted me or, commented or DM'd and like I was there or like that has really sustained the experience. And I literally will always have it in my memory. So I will always be able to high five
Yeah.
her, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I do have a sense though, and like I don't know what it's going to look like, but I think I am making an intention for 2025 to seek spaces that have communal dance in them. Like I
Yes.
tried a dance class and that was okay, but it wasn't quite the vibe. And I actually asked my somatic therapist on Monday, I'm like, do you know, you probably know these things. And so she has a few leads. And maybe if none of them are quite what it is, I will find people and create something. Who knows? But I'm like, I think that something like this, where you're being cringe and you're just going for it, and just loving moving your body and singing along, I think it would be fabulous if that was something that could happen regularly, in person with other people. So I have versions of it now, like online choir, which you
Yeah.
maybe try it out. So there's like that.
Sure.
Yay! And we are planning an in-person get together. So that maybe that'll just like satisfy it. Who knows? Like that, my experience going to the retreat through the online choir felt so similar actually to the Eras Tour experience with the collective element. That's
Yeah.
something I think I would love more routinely in my life. And no, there's logistical reasons why that hasn't happened so far. But I'm setting an intention. Like you said, it's like, oh, I don't, I wonder if I'll feel that again. Like, I'm like, I intend to feel that way again. And,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's going to be by going to a bunch of other concerts. Like, I think the things I
Yeah.
loved most about it are not necessarily the concert parts. I did not love standing in lines and crowds, and
Yeah.
stadiums are not comfortable for our body. So like
Yeah.
I'm good with not having those be the pieces. It's like the music, the community, the cringe, the joy. I'm looking for
Yeah.
those spaces.
Yes. I love that. And I think that's actually such a great, like, those are realistic goals. We can find
Yeah,
that.
we will find it or create it or some combo. Yes, we
Yeah.
will.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, I feel like we are almost at the end of our
Yes.
time. I think my like very last question for you is if you, I mean, we've kind of gone over this, but like, if you were talking to somebody that just didn't understand, why this was a thing, and again, we've kind of gone over this, I think, with so many,
Yeah.
but is there like one last sort of like, what was so magical about this experience?
I think like in some ways like the opening thing of the magic was giving myself permission to go, because it cost me
Yeah.
$2,600. And money is something that I'm still even on a journey of fully like unshaming and unanxietying. And part of that is not actually just my shame or anxiety stress story, but my husband's as well. And there was a really meaningful moment when we were like having dinner, just the two of us, and I shared like, I really want to go to the Eras Tour later this year, and I have this savings that's in this particular account, and it matches, so I would really like to go. Not in a way of like asking for his permission, which actually honestly that's even a step, because I have deep socialization to ask for permission as the woman, and also just in life, no matter if it's a
Yeah.
woman or a man, I'm asking. It's the people pleasing, right? So just saying, I want to go, and I'm open to discussing it. I know that might, I'm open to discussing, but I'm letting you know, I want to go to that. And we had a whole conversation, including him sharing some of his money fears or whatever, but in a way that was really lovely, and about him, and making that clear. And like the thing he said to me was like, the fact that I know it's so hard for you to know and say and ask for what you want, I want to support you, because this is an example of you doing that. And I cried when he said that. It's like one of the most lovely, loving things he has said to me, amongst many, but like it just shows how much he knows me.
Yes.
And so I think about how if I never had that conversation, really,
Yes.
all the rest of it, it would have been something different. But like,
Yes.
it started with me doing kind of the pre-work of getting to a place of, I know what I like, I know what I want,
Yes.
despite all the socialization of saying
Yes.
otherwise. And it is
Yes.
an outlandish, outsized, ridiculous thing to do. Even if it had only cost me, I don't know, $50 or something, it's a trip. It's the 3.5 hours plus in a, like it's sort of a lot of effort and discomfort and why her, but like I knew that I wanted it, right? Oh,
Yes.
that's our timer. But you know, I knew I wanted it and I got it, just like Travis did, right? Just like in So High School, you know what you
Just
wanted, you
like
got
that.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Friendship
that
bracelet
like,
and a
but I
dream.
mean, such amazing steps there. The knowing that you want it, saying out loud that you want something, like
Yeah.
being willing to accept something for yourself that's outlandish. That's like,
Yes.
it's actually not, it's not for the, sometimes we can be like, well, it's actually for the benefit of everyone around me too. You're like, actually, it's for me.
It's
And,
for me.
and I,
It was fully for me.
yeah, yeah. And like giving yourself permission to do that. And then fully embracing the whole thing, like
Yeah, not being racked with
wholehearted.
guilt about it,
Yeah,
right?
yes, yes. Well,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And thank you so much for letting me ask you all the questions about it that I've been really excited to ask you.
Thanks for asking them. And thank you, Caroline, for being like a fellow Swiftie enthusiast. Like I think back on like the number of times we have like voxered about something to do with Taylor Swift and like you sharing when you went to London and um it all of that has like I can give myself permission, but it is so wonderful to find other humans who then we co-share permission for each other. It is
Yes,
easier when it's you're not totally an island, and I
yes,
so treasure
yes,
that part of our friendship that we also can just totally geek out and dream about Taylor Swift and other things too, like other people we've met and poets, for
yeah.
example, and like that's just been I I love you and I appreciate you, so thank
Well,
you.
I love you and I appreciate you. And thank you for this conversation.
Okay, well, yeah, thanks everyone for listening. If you went to an Era Show tour, please DM me and share. I just always love hearing people's experiences. So if you have, please, or your equivalent. What's your Era Show equivalent that's completely different than anything to do with Taylor Swift, but like what's your outlandish thing that you have or want to do? And otherwise, I'll talk to you all next week. Bye. I would love to take this work deeper with you. Visit joanchanmd.com today and discover my growing menu of options for restorative medical education to suit your learning needs. I offer one-on-one coaching, customized workshops, and self-study courses that allow you to connect not only with my work on a deeper level, but also with other healthcare humans just like you. So if you want to start humanizing your work in healthcare to a deeper level and do it in community with others, please visit joanchanmd.com and find those options and what fits you and your life today.